Alright, so here's the thing. Back when I was first getting into filmmaking as a kid, none of my friends at the time shared the same interest, so I would end up making films on my own. I would basically be a one-man cast and crew, setting up the camera and filming myself doing the most idiotic things for short videos with zero planning. Later in life, when I got into university to study film, I began working on more professional sets. That being said, I do long for the simpler days when I was a young and passionate little piece of shit that ran around with nothing but an old camcorder and tripod, improvising different short scenarios. Now, I'm a 25-year-old piece of shit, and I've gotten a lot better at this whole filmmaking thing. So I decided that I would like to revisit those early days by trying my hand at making a short all on my own again. However, even though I have better equipment than what I used to have as a kid, they still weren't that much. I have a 5D Mark III camera, a small LED light panel, a small Zoom H1n sound recorder, and a tripod. And I managed to borrow a light from a friend of mine, and bought some light bulbs for it. Since I was filming this during Halloween season, I decided to make a short horror film. I had recently bought this bird skull mask thing that looked like Khonshu from Moon Knight, and I borrowed this DIY black hooded cloak from a friend. My first plan was this. I thought of a dialogue scene where a man makes a deal with death to prolong his life. I wrote it down and began thinking of my technical approach to filming it. However, I quickly realized that what I had in mind wasn't going to work. I wanted to film this at my house in the mountains, but needed the entire weekend to shoot, including Friday night to test things out. Sadly, I only managed to get to the mountains on Saturday night, and had to go back down Sunday night, since I had to go to work on Monday. So I needed a plan B. On Monday, I had come up with a short sequence with no dialogue that I could film in a single night at my house in the city. It went something like this. Okay, so I'm running with a book, and it's a magic book, right? And I have a dagger, and I'm reading from the book, and apparently I'm supposed to cut my hand, because, I guess I need to use my blood to stop a curse of some kind, like a demon is coming after me, and this is the ritual that stops it, but then the demon creature thing catches up to me, and kills me before I had the chance to finish the ritual. That sound good?
No.
For this backup plan, because I had less time to work on it, I decided to film it in black and white, since it would help me forget about color grading later and allow me to use different random lights without worrying about white balance. The monochrome look also fits with the spooky atmosphere I was trying to get. Before going deep into the making of process, here's the film in its entirety. It's a little under 2 minutes, so it should be an easy watch. Alright, that's what I managed to make. Hope you enjoyed it. It was actually fun to revisit the way I used to make films as a kid. On my own, it feels less like work and more like playing with expensive toys. The way I approached the shoot was trying to use my minimal lighting to my advantage. For the very first shot, there's a projector light installed in front of my building's entrance, so I used it to light up the back of my body to appear as a silhouette. However, I also placed my small LED light panel on the side to shine on my face and give me a bit of glow in the eyes. They say the eyes are windows to the soul, and in film, the light in an actor's eyes gives the camera a good point to set its focus on, and with the minimal lighting that I had, it was a good way to let the audience know at what to look at. For the shot of me reading from the book, I placed the light outside the room and used the doorway to shape it. I even had a mirror placed to bounce some of the light back onto me, and I also placed my small LED light panel on the side. I managed to get the glow in the eyes from both the small LED and the candle light. The close-up of the candle was just me lighting it up and blowing it out in one take. And for the shot where I turned back at the camera, I would start the shot by blowing out the lit candle and then turning right after. That shot was a little bit out of focus, which was an issue I was having while shooting. In this scene, I would use a broom as a stand-in, placing it where I would estimate I'd be in the shot and focusing on it. The shot of me holding up the knife in fear of the creature also looks flat to me, due to not having anything to shape the light with. The through-the-glass silhouette shots are my favorite because of their high contrast lighting and the texture of the glass that gave the shot a more interesting look. I had to be as close to the glass as possible to get the proper shadow when walking by, and in the second shot I had to move like an idiot on the floor while flinging the coat around to make it look like I was being ripped apart. That shot killed the whole feeling like a kid again moment I was having, since it caused my muscles to cramp up and I hurt my neck while filming it. The two monster shots were pretty easy to pull off. In the wide shot I was slowly walking and leaning forward, and in the close-up I just leaned forward into the light. I was wondering if I should add some form of glowing eyes for the creature in post, but seeing how the lack of eyes made it look like a soulless monster, I kept it the way it is. The jump scare was easy to pull off. I just cut up 3 frames of me running towards the camera, and in one frame I had to mask out my hand since I didn't want it to show. The original footage looks goofy as hell, by the way. Everything sound related was done in post, so that when I was shooting I could simply focus on framing. All my movement and breathing and footsteps were re-recorded as Foley sound separately. I then got as many free sound effects and assets as I could, even the screaming sounds for the end shot. My vocal cords were spared that day. The only thing that wasn't royalty free were the creature noises I used. I used the alien sounds from Predator that I found online, slowed them down and reverbed them to make them feel different. For music, I found 2 tracks on Epidemic Sound that I liked, but since I didn't have a subscription, I found them on YouTube and ripped them straight from there.
Oh boy, here I go.
Getting copyright claimed again.
Other than that, I filmed everything in a 16:9 aspect ratio, but in post cropped the footage into vintage CinemaScope so that I have more control over the framing in post and make it look more cinematic. Due to the lack of camera motion, I went with small, subtle digital zooms for a little extra flair in some shots. And that's about it. After finishing up the short, I sent it to some friends for feedback. I got a critique that it felt too quick for a horror film, though not sure if that's a comment about the pacing or the film's overall length. Another complaint was that my facial expressions were too goofy in the shot where I was facing off with the demon, which is fair. One of my friends said that he liked the Titanic reference, and I was like, what Titanic reference? Then I realized the handprint on the glass was the shot he's referring to. That was purely coincidence, not on purpose. In my short, it was a character being eaten, while in Titanic it was a character being eaten out.
Haha!
So yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're new here, I make videos about making movies, as well as ones where I talk about other movies, mainly about lost and obscure media. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.